Okay, I'm live. What's going on, folks? It's Kish, Yardie Gaming Nation. As you see the title, um, you see how I've titled the show is called uh, Society's Decline, and Traditional Manhood in Society's Decline. And traditional men should be angry with the way you see the direction we're going in society, especially in the black community. Amongst black men, that's the plane. I don't know if y'all can hear the plane. When it comes to black men who want to be traditional, right? And I put in the thumbnail, Usher groping Alicia Keys. Now, why do I say that traditional men and traditional manhood should be angry with the goofiness that they see in the society that traditional masculinity and manhood has built and has been successful in building? Why would I say that? Because you see all this promiscuity, the sex culture, 304ism, dot culture, feminism. These things or constructs or programs have only been around for the past 60 years. Meanwhile, traditional masculinity or traditionalism, not just being what you call developed or cultivated here in the Western culture, but it was also cultivated in Eastern culture, like in Asia, or like in European culture in Europe and in Africa. A lot of y'all in here like to say, well, in Africa, you know, they were more polygamist, or they were polygamous or not monogamous, which is not true. You have to bring up to me which African tribe or which kingdom did they have polygamy, because there were certain African nations or tribes that had monogamy. You know what I'm saying? And when you go into history and look up history, the reason why they did polygamy or a version of polygamy was because the society at that time needed to breed stronger generations. You see what I'm saying? So the women had to mate with the stronger males of that society because they were at the lower stages of development. In other words, they were uncivilized. You see what I'm saying? But the problem in a polygamous society, where everybody's just able to breed, and everybody's operating that way, there's no structure. Too many children get born, too many mixed families, too many chaos, as opposed to a monogamous thing in a traditional society where the family is head by a male figure, is more structured. See what I'm saying? See what I'm saying? So these traditional things, not only has it been successful here in the Western culture, it's also been successful in other cultures, especially in African culture. You see what I'm saying? Now, the reason why traditional men, and I'll put down some notes, and I have some notes that I've written down, and I'm gonna go off the dome at the same time. Because when you look at traditional men, right, and especially in Western culture, especially here in America, traditional men built and defined the society we're in. So if the traditional men is seeing something like promiscuity, like sex culture, like hookup culture, like feminism, like all this other goofiness that, as we can see, only been around for the past 60 years, and look at the problems that's created. A traditional man with all righteous anger and judgment has a right to complain and talk about and hold accountable the men and the women that are participating in the downfall that we are seeing in our society. When you look up hookup culture and the promiscuity amongst the women, for instance, and the men that participate in that, for instance, right? You see that the STD rate is highest amongst the women. You see that the abortion rate, especially in the black community, is highest amongst the black women. So that means the population is not growing. You understand? Because it's not encouraged to be in a monogamous relationship. It's not encouraged to have control over your promiscuity. And the problem that I see with a lot of you new age men out here is that you're participating in the 304 culture or the 304 mongering culture. See what I'm saying? You're contributing to that. And it's not that the women don't have a choice or agency for why they follow that, because they could choose to follow 3 or 4 culture or not. But when they choose to follow it, and then you guys participate in it, it creates a bigger power. You understand? So when I see guys on YouTube who are new age, who are into open relationships, who are into non-monogamous relationships, or who are players and max and pimps, try to shame traditional men for shaming them, or say that traditional men who built or created the societal norms that has been successful in our society thus far, and say that those men are weak for judging the women, and those men are weak for judging the men that fall out of line. Who the fuck are you? Excuse my language, but don't excuse my language. Who the fuck are you to tell traditional men how he should operate in his society? You understand? For those of you men who are new age and you want to participate in hookup culture, or you want to do all these things, maybe you should leave America, go somewhere else if you don't like it here. If you expect traditional men all across the globe, especially America, that have dominated and have been successful, not to look at you guys as a problem in our society and expect us not to judge you or critique you or hold you accountable, especially with the men. You understand? Because as you guys like to say, women move in the response to the men, which I don't believe that 100%, based upon what I see. What I see is that women choose or have choice of free will to respond to the men that they choose or want to respond to. You understand? Or the women are going to respond to whatever's available to them. Or they're going to choose to respond to whatever influences that's around them. You understand? So when I see guys on these YouTube spaces and in real life shame guys who want to be traditional, and traditionalism has built the societal norms that has gotten us success. You see what I'm saying? The societal norms is what built the great city of New York, the great city of Chicago, the great state of Florida, all these great buildings and inventions that we have. Those are now societal norms and patriarchal traditional things has built it. And you mean to tell me that if I watch a Super Bowl show that was built on traditional principles, values, and these things, and I see Usher, who was supposed to be engaged, roping up on Alicia Keys, who's married to Swiss Beats, a Muslim, and you expect me not to hold that accountable? How does that represent the Black community? How does that represent where the Black community is trying to go? You see what I'm saying? Oh, my question is, where are we trying to go with the Black community if that one exists? Where are we trying to go with that? Are we trying to revert back to the pimp, Mac, and hookup culture? Or are we trying to evolve to something different and better than that? And the only reason why there's a player, there's a Mac, and there's a pimp was because during the Vietnam War, there were a lot of Black men that were being drafted to go fight in Vietnam. So because while those men were away and they couldn't stop their daughter or prevent the pimp or the player to have access to their daughters to teach their sons, that's how that culture got created. That's how coke and crackhead flooded the neighborhoods, because the men who would have stood in the face of those things got drafted off and went to war to go fight. You understand? So that's why that culture even exists. You see what I'm saying? And it's funny to me that now everybody's free to identify with what they want to identify with. And especially for Black men, so-called Black men, we no longer have to fall prey or fall into the pitfalls of the 80s and 90s drug and gangbanging game. We don't have to do that no more. We can actually make legit legal money and flex our masculinity in that way. We could go on YouTube And you go on YouTube, you go on Instagram, you go on Twitter, you see black men cooking, you see Kylie Muscle up there flexing, you see Chef Russ and Kylie Muscle up there cooking watermelon, my nigga. Black men can flex their masculinity in a positive light and be traditional in a righteous way. We're not having to deal with the racial extremes that we dealt with in the 60s, in the 80s, in the 90s. And all of a sudden now, you bitch ass niggas want to tear down the system and talk about traditional masculinity is bad. And now when black men try to be traditional, as he's supposed to do, and give law and authority to these women and in his community, here come you bitch-ass nigga players and Max, player hating, or traditional man hating, or hating on traditional men. It's okay for you players and Max to turn our women into hoes and sluts, but I can't turn my women into godly, righteous women? But it's okay for women to be free to pick what kind of leadership they want to follow. But it's not for me as a traditional man to pick the type of woman I want to lead and define the type of woman I find valuable. Sometimes I think you niggas in these YouTube spaces, I think you don't give a fuck about where society's going. I think you just did to appease your sexual lust and nature. I don't know what some of you are thinking. So, Kish, Yardie Gaming Nation. Don't you want to smash women? Yes, I do. I love having sex. I love black women. I love all women. But at the same time, my masculinity and my manhood says I gotta give the law and order and authority of my community first. That comes first before my Johnson. And some of you gonna say, why do I care about society? Why do I care about the world? I should focus on myself. Well, it's simple. For those of you who say traditional, you're traditional. God gave me the task as a man to lead these women, to lead society, to bring law and order on the planet. That's the job I'm tasked with. So I have to care about where it's going. Oh, well, here's the line that a lot of y'all say. A lot of y'all like to say the game is not about the women, the game is about yourself. And I agree and disagree with that at the same time. For I agree that a woman should not define your masculinity and how you should lead, or your identity. As a man, you construct your identity, who you are. But where the game comes about with the women or society or the community, I as a man have to define where we're going to go as the captain. So when I come out, or traditional men come out, and we see Usher groping up on Alicia Keys, I have a goddamn right to say something about it. Because the society we lived in, traditional men put their lives on the line to build it. So what are y'all talking about? And the most disgusting thing I've seen on YouTube, in these YouTube spaces, especially amongst black men, is that you have black men arguing and fucking with other black men that want to take their passport and go to another society where traditional masculinity is valued. Because in the society in the West, it doesn't value traditional masculinity anymore. Yet it benefits from it. Yet you tell those men they can't have a fucking opinion in their society they built it. And yes, black men in America has contributed to building this traditional society. Black men has fought in every war. Black men VA, the Nation of Islam, the Civil Rights Movement, the Black Panther Movement, has contributed to the better space for racial equality and opportunity for everybody else. But you tell them they can't complain about their community, they can't hold their woman in their community, and when they decide to take a passport to go somewhere else, all of a sudden you bitch ass niggas say they weaken their masculinity? And y'all want to play these identity politics. Oh, you can self-improve in your community, and as long as you value yourself and self-improve in your community, it shouldn't matter what's going on. A bullshit. We see Nipsey Hussle try that. Look what happened to his life. Ice Cube tried that, and he got robbed. Every brother that tries to self-improve in his community, in his society, his community, or the stupid, messed up black culture we live in, attacks him. Look at the hate that some of you YouTubers get. Look at the hate that Angry Man get. Shout out to the Angry Man. And shout out to the Angry Man staff. Upside down, my bad. To the Angry Man staff. The Angry Man staff. I don't know, it's flipped to the other way, I don't know. You know what I'm saying? And back to the quote, for the book. You know what I'm saying? That somewhat inspired me to have this video, which I've been wanting to come on YouTube for a long time and speak my ideas and principles. You know, I just felt I didn't have to, because I thought seeing Angry Man and all the other brothers trying to uphold traditional principles and values, I thought that was enough. But apparently it's not. So I got to join the fight now. In this quote in the back of his book, this is called The Angry Man Standard, by the way. You know what I'm saying? Civilization is not inherited. It has to be learned and earned by each generation anew. If the transmission should be interrupted for 1 century, civilization would die, and we should be savages again. This quote was by Will Durant. He lived from 1885 to 1981. Damn. That's a long time, boy. He was an American historian and philosopher. So all this hookup culture, promiscuity, 3 or 4 phase that the women are doing, and you bitch ass niggas is participating in. Sorry, complain or participating in, is the interruption or the monkey wrench into society. And it's causing the problems that we see right now. For the short 60 years it's been around, look at the short-term problems it's causing. I can only imagine what the long-term effect is going to be. On top of what we have already experienced for the past 4 years. Right? So, in the notes I read, I said, traditional men who built society in the West and has been successful has a right to be mad and upset because it's his house. It's his house that he built. So the responsibility is on them to get it right. This is my notes that I wrote. And what I have noticed in today's climate, traditional men get shamed by women or men who are new age for complaining and holding women accountable for their actions. How do they shame? And I asked the question, how do they shame? Well, Alicia Keys and Usher held a concert at the Super Bowl, in which while they were performing, Usher groped in a sexual way Alicia Keys. Or maybe I shouldn't say groped, but that's what it was, groped. Alicia Keys, who is married to Swiss Beats, when the Western world get upset or mad at this, they should be upset. Men who are not traditional accuse men of being insecure. Well, what I said is, men who are not traditional, in a traditional society built by traditional men, accuse those traditional men that build society for being insecure. Right? My thing is, if you're not a traditional man, you're supposed to be. My thing is, if you're a traditional man, you're supposed to be insecure about what's going on in your society that you don't agree with, especially if it means the fall of that house that you built. I will say that again. My thing is, if you're a traditional man, you're supposed to be insecure about what's going on in your society that you don't agree with, especially if it means that the house that you built will fall. Right? That's for me, your boy. So if you hear that anywhere else, Bro, I ain't stepped my game up though. Anybody else? I said it. Now I'm gonna go to the idea behind what's insecure. Because I see a lot of you men using the same thing that women use, but claim that you're not equal to the women, but you use women tactics and manipulation tactics and try to manipulate traditional men to accept your playerism and your machism and your pimpism. My question is, why the fuck should we accept you? And it's in our house that we built. If you don't like the house that we built and you don't like the fact that we hold women accountable, do something like the passport bros. Take your passport and get the fuck out. Simple. Now, I wrote in my notes, the idea behind being insecure is the lack of confidence in self and being able to perform either in a relationship or at a job. Now, the thing is that you're going to be insecure about things you cannot control. I said you're going to be insecure about things that you cannot control. Control and you can't control. So, in other words, what I was saying is there's things you're going to be insecure about in which you cannot control and in which you can control. Now, the insecurities that you have that you cannot control, there's really nothing you can do about that. Like, say, for your height, I'm 5'10", and the best I can do for me is, maybe go to the gym, get in shape, improve on my appearance, so I can improve on what I can improve, that I can control, right? In the context of a relationship now, right? If I'm insecure about a woman that's cheating on me, I have to recognize I cannot control what a woman does with her free will. That's why earlier when I said, I don't believe that women necessarily move in response to men. I think they move in response to the men that they choose to move in response to, or their free will moves tells them or dictates to them to move in response to. Or they could choose to move in response to whatever influences that are around them. You understand? However, I also said earlier that the women are going to move in response to what the men present as well. And I think Angry Man said that on one of his shows. So shout out to the OG Angry Man. I think Angry Man said that the women move in response to what the men present to them. I'm saying that women move in response to what they choose to respond to, or what men they choose to respond to, or what influence they choose to respond to. You understand? Because if we say that I can't control women and she has the right to choose what she wants to submit to, that means that she has agency, she has choice, she has free will, which I can't control. In order for me to have control over that woman or influence of that woman, she has to find me a valuable person or she has to like me. And I can't control if she likes me or not. So what does that have to do with insecurity? If your woman is walking out the house half-ass naked and that's something you don't like, you don't deal with, then just don't deal with that woman. And we have to separate what's insecure from I just don't want to deal with that. You know what I'm saying? Me not wanting a woman that dresses out the house half-ass naked, I'm not insecure about that. It's just something I don't want to represent me. And what you men have done on the YouTube, as well as contribute to destroying where our society is going, you've taken the tactic that women have been using and convoluted it in order to use it to manipulate the other men to follow what you believe in and to shame the men to go where you want to go. Telling the man he's insecure because he don't want a fucking 304. And telling the rest of the men in traditional society in the house that traditional men built, you're insecure in his house because he want to operate the fuck how you want to operate. Who the fuck is you? Maybe you men who can't get with the program or with the societal norms, you're the ones who are weak. Maybe your game ain't strong enough because you're too weak to follow the social hierarchy. And that ain't the problem of the men of society. That's the problem of you. Now me, I fancy myself, I believe I'm a Sigma, based upon how my life has been played out. Now, Sigmas, I can acknowledge a problem in society with the social hierarchy, but I can see the benefit and the purpose for what it's supposed to be. You understand? I can see the benefits to it. I can see the purpose to it. I can be balanced at the end of the day. So even if I can look at the social hierarchy we have and say, okay, there's things wrong with this over here, there's something wrong with this over here, and even though it's not perfect, there's a benefit to it. There's a reason to it. Why am I saying that? Because even though in traditional society, you may say that certain men at a space can't get with that social hierarchy and level up, but that is not true. There's many ways a man can adapt and adjust himself to level up in the game in our society we call Western culture, whether it be his money, whether it be his appearance, whether it be his social skills, whether it be his thinking. Do you understand what I'm saying? There's things in our society that we can improve on to make it better. And now that we have an opportunity to make it better, everybody wants to do away with it. Down with the patriarchy and traditional masculinity is bad, all because the women who don't want to follow the norms want to be fucking lawless, and the men who want free box want to be fucking lawless. And again, I know it's some of you niggas who gonna watch this video gonna think and say, "Oh, Kish Yardie Gaming, don't you want the box? Don't you want something?" Yes, I'm a man. I'm supposed to want to have sexual relations with women, but I don't want to have the sexual relations with the women I see today. 3 or 4 and having their ass half out, trucking on top of police cars, making the black community, that black men like the Malcolm X's and the Martin Luther King who fought and died for what they believed in, try to evolve the community to be a better, and look where it's at now. And I'm supposed to sit back and not say nothing about that? Because you niggas online want to get boxed? Because you guys online benefit from the 304 phase? And I'm going to start shaming some players and some Macs. Because the players and Macs are dirty macking and shaming traditional men. Because we want to define our women to be better. And the way you defining the women in our communities goes against the program and our social norms and the social hierarchy. So we should shame you. But anyway, this is Yardie Rants. I might call it Yardie Rants one day, or my viewpoints on a lot of things in these YouTube spaces. This is going to be my second live, so you know what I'm saying. Yeah, I'm just getting real tired of what I see out here. It's just goofy. Everybody talks about manhood and masculinity and respecting the game, but everybody seems to not respect the game. How you not going to respect the men in the game who say they want to have traditional principles, traditional community society that they built in their house, but you want the game to respect players, pimps, and max? If the game says allow people to get what they want, why can't traditional men get what they want? And why are they being shamed for valuing modest traditional women? But the players, pimps, and max get to be free to value sluts, hoes, and 304s and thoughts. And we in a traditional society must allow that to persist? Nah. You bucket. And back to the Passport Bros. I want to say something about the Passport Bros. Everybody likes to tell the Passport Bros, you're weakening your masculinity because the society you've been in have failed you when it comes to traditional relationships. The pimps, the max, and the players, and the 304 mongers have poisoned the dating market, right? And you said, as a black male, that see your culture going to shit, and regardless of whatever you say or try to hold your community accountable, they don't listen to you. They don't value. And it's ridiculous to sit there in your community in the cesspools that you live in and try to self-improve. Meanwhile, try to self-improve in your community and then get to a level of self-improvement and your community sit up there and kill you and take your life. Why would you do that? And now because the passport bros taking their passport to find better women, as the Bible says, he who founded a wife founded a good thing. You must leave from your mother and father and cleave to the Lord. God didn't say black wife, white wife, green wife, yellow wife. He just said wife. He just say, and mind you, Adam and Eve got casted out the garden. See what I'm saying? So to the passport. So my question is to everybody, especially black men, fuck up with the passport, bro. Why y'all don't say nothing about the European men, the Italian man, the Jewish man, the Russian man, the Armenian man that take their passports? Damn, my game fucked up. That take their passports, come over here, get with your black women, breed with your black women, and create families with your black women. But the same black women don't call those European men weak in their masculinity for taking a passport from Europe or wherever in Europe, come over here to America, get them a big booty black chick and have a big happy mixed breed, half-breed family. I don't hear none of you niggas critiquing them for doing that and saying they're weak in that. Because you're not going to convince a European man he weak with his masculinity for doing that. Are the Europeans weak in their masculinity from breaking away from the British crown, coming over here to the Americas, conquering the Americas, and setting up Western society as we see it? No. So it's ridiculous the way I see you Negroes online critiquing other black men for wanting to go find love, peace, respect, and happiness from a woman of somewhere else, of another tribe. And you say they're weak with their masculinity, but you say nothing about the European men that's able to come have access to your women. And you let your women program you to believe that bullshit. Meanwhile, those same women don't call those men weak for coming to have access to them. And with that said, my name is Kish, Yardie Gaming Nation. Click the like, share, and subscribe. And I'm out.